So beginning today and from time to time in the coming months, our friends from Senior Benefit Incorporated and the East Tennessee Area Agency on Aging and Disability are going to drop by and offer some quick advice for senior citizens. This is Age Well Tennessee. That's the name of the segment, and it's information that could possibly apply directly to you, or as in my case, something that might help improve the life of your parents. My dad's 87 years old, so I'll be taking notes and paying attention. Aaron Bradley is the director of the East Tennessee Area Agency on Aging and Disability. Nick Keene, you've heard him before with Senior Benefit Incorporated, are in studio today. Good morning to you both. How you been?
Doing great, Bob. Good to be here.
We've been planning this for a hot minute or two, and here it is. I'm excited about this because I think you guys have a lot of great information that our folks will either need themselves or, like I said, the parents of some of our listeners. Right?
Sure.
Aaron, we're going to zero in eventually here in just a moment on elder abuse and financial exploitation among seniors in just a moment. But what's a quick laundry list of the topics and the services available at the Area Agency on Aging and Disability? This is, I think, a hidden gem right here in East Tennessee.
We are kind of a hidden gem, Bob. If you have any needs related to aging in Tennessee or East Tennessee, please call our toll-free number. I think you have that available. We offer a lot of services to help folks remain independent in the community, transportation services, senior centers across the region, county offices on aging, ombudsman services, just a lot of opportunities for folks to call us, get some help, mostly funded by federal and state grants.
All right, that number that Aaron mentions, 866-836-6678. And if you're streaming this show and you're outside of Tennessee, or maybe your parents are outside of Tennessee, this is a pretty unique phone number. How so?
It's actually a national, so anyone who picks up the phone, calls this number, they'll be connected to an area agency on aging and disability in their community. That's true for the 9 area agencies in Tennessee. There are over 600 area agencies across the country, so this is a very valuable number for folks to have when they have a need.
So Aaron and Nick are going to be with us for the next 30 minutes or so. If you have any questions for them regarding a topic such as this, 865-656-8255. You can call us with those questions, or you can text those questions to us, and we'll get to as many as we can on the air. Okay, so how big of a problem is elder abuse and financial exploitation among seniors in East Tennessee, and how does your office help a family who may be dealing with these issues?
It's a huge problem. Actually, in the state of Tennessee and nationally, there's more elder abuse than there is child abuse and domestic violence. A lot of folks don't know that, don't realize that, but it's an epidemic. I know that word's been overused in the last 2 years. I would like to say this, though, Bob, that the majority of folks in their 60s, 70s are doing quite well. Thank you very much. They don't need a lot from us. But there's a growing number, about 10%, that are abused in one form or another on a daily basis in some cases. The TBI director, David Roush, all of you know him. He used to be our chief of police here. He was at our conference in May of this year and announced that the number in Tennessee for financial exploitation is over $500 million.
$500 million.
$500 million
just in this state.
Year. And folks hear that number and they either go, oh my gosh, or they discount it. They thought, well, it can't be that much. But we hear of cases every day almost in our office, just for our 16 counties, where folks are falling prey to scams, frauds, people calling on the phone. One of the things we say, if you don't recognize the number, don't answer the phone. That's hard for a lot of folks because sometimes they're isolated. But it's a huge number. A lot of that, unfortunately, is related to family members who may have a drug addiction, and they may be taking money from family members to support that addiction. So it's unbelievable.
Who should be on the lookout for these types of things?
Well, you mentioned a second ago, Bob, that family members that are looking after or looking in on older relatives need to just kind of have an ear to the ground, if you will. Any behavioral changes, anything happening with their finances, bills that are not getting paid on time is a pretty strong indication. One of the things we recommend to folks all the time is if you don't need a debit card, don't get a debit card, because a debit card is like cash if someone has the debit card and the PIN number. There are ways you can talk to your bank to make sure there's a limit on the amount of money that You can pull out of that using that debit card any 24-hour period. So there are a lot of things that we can do to help families protect themselves.
We mentioned elder abuse and financial exploitation. Sounds like they're connected.
They're connected. Financial exploitation is a form of elder abuse, and of course, physical abuse, verbal abuse, and other types is all kind of rolled into that definition.
Nick Keene is with Senior Benefit Incorporated, and you guys, Nick, speak primarily with senior citizens about Medicare changes and supplemental insurance opportunities there. Are your agents on the lookout for red flags that might alert you to some of the things we've just discussed?
Absolutely. Let me start by thanking you for having us out, Bob. It's a pleasure to come out and speak on this topic. I think it's very needful in the community. But yes, I think Aaron has hit on a couple points that I would certainly drive home there, Bob, is number one, we are asking those questions and trying to determine if there's any red flags going on. I mean, a lot of the times we don't see people in person, so we rely on what we're told from these individuals a lot. But we are absolutely taking steps to try to verify that someone's intent is legitimate. And we also go a step further. Not only do we want to verify that their, intent or their objectives are legit, but we want them to feel comfortable with us as well, right? So we want to do our part in dispelling these sorts of issues using some tricks that we're going to be sharing later in the broadcast.
How nosy, Aaron, should neighbors be about an elderly neighbor they may have?
Your best security sometimes is your neighbor looking over your shoulder to kind of see what's going on. And if you see something unusual, call our agency. If it really does look like it may be some type of criminal activity, of course, call the Sheriff's Department or the KPD if you're in Knoxville. But I think having folks who are looking out for folks who may live alone in the community, the risk for being abused in all forms, including financial exploitation, goes up a lot if you live alone and you're isolated. And we see that as probably the top two factors for risk. So having that neighbor, Bob, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because having that nosy neighbor sometimes can be the greatest benefit in the world. That person who's looking out for your interest, your mail kind of gets stacked up, maybe your newspapers get stacked up, maybe your yard is not being taken care of. All of those are signs that there's trouble, and calling our office and reporting that is certainly okay.
Man, it's so simple.
It is. It is so simple and so valuable. We say all the time the way you counter a bad person is to have a good person, that neighbor, church member, friend, who's looking in on you on a regular basis. And just having that relationship so that person says, well, I think I'm going to call Bob and see what he thinks about this latest thing I heard about. That is extraordinarily valuable in our society. And unfortunately, because of social media and many other things, we don't do much of that anymore. We don't know our neighbors. We don't talk to our neighbors. We need to get back to some of that, I think, to protect this population. And let me say this just for a second. I really appreciate SBI, Danny Hare, and Nick having me on the show today as a guest. And it's a great pleasure to finally meet you. You do phenomenal work.
Well, you're very kind to say that, and I'm glad we got Age Well Tennessee going on. We'll do this on a monthly basis. And, Danny's in studio. So far, so good with that, right?
There we go. We cut his mic off, Bob.
Yeah, but these other ones are wide open, man, so you don't know what's going to happen there. Okay, when we get back in just a moment, Nick's going to give us some ideas of some of the things he mentioned, the ways to combat elder abuse and financial exploitation. If you've got any questions for Aaron or Nick, you can give us a call at 865-656-8255. You can also text us at that same number. Age Well Tennessee. We're back here in just a moment. Bob Yarbrough here with Senior Benefit Inc., located in the heart of Knoxville since 1995. SBI is your one-stop shop for all products Medicare related. SBI is a local family-owned company specializing in Medicare market sales. So whether you're new to Medicare, you've been on Medicare and want to review your options, or are looking to save money on your current coverage, they've got you covered. Call SBI today and get your questions answered and see what your savings could be. 844-437-4253. Back here on Yarbrough and News Talk 98.7, Aaron Bradley and Nick Keene. Aaron's with the East Tennessee Area Agency on Aging and Disability. Nick Keene is with Senior Benefit Incorporated today with some information regarding elder abuse and financial exploitation. I just want to keep reminding you about the information and the services that you can find at the East Tennessee Area Agency on Aging and Disability. And call this number if you've got any kind of questions and it's outside of the time that Aaron and Nick are with us, 866-836-6678. And if you're streaming this show outside the state of Tennessee, you can still call that number, and it's going to point you in the right direction to an agency in your area, 866-836-6678. And if you've got questions for our guest today, a few more minutes to get to those at 865-656-8255. You can call or you can text. Nick, ways to combat elder abuse. And let me remind you this real quickly, too. Aaron said elder abuse is more prevalent in Tennessee than child abuse. Did I have that correct?
And likely across the United States.
And likely across the United States. It just doesn't seem to get
That's
the
flooring, isn't it? I wrote that
really
down.
Is.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to get the attention or the headlines. They're both important.
Absolutely.
For sure. But if this eclipses the child abuse numbers, that's pretty astounding. Nick, ways to combat elder abuse and financial exploitation with what you guys do at SBI.
Yeah, so as it relates to us in the insurance industry, Bob, we get the opportunity to talk with a lot of people. And I would certainly echo Aaron's comments on the people that seem to be more prone in some instances are the isolated group, right? Not always, but they tend to be more prone. So since we are moving into the 21st century, since COVID has happened, the way business is handled is a little bit different these days, right? A lot of things are now done over the phone. A lot of things are now done via chat, via email, all these things, right? But what's important to remember is there are ways that you can protect yourself, your information, and your finances against either scammers, unknown callers, or maybe people you think are legitimate, but you're just not sure, right? So the two tricks that we tell all of our clients, and I'm sure there'll be some people out there listening that have heard this from us, is number one, right? Any licensed insurance agent that sells life or health insurance, right, has a particular license number with every state that they're licensed in, right? So Senior Benefit is licensed in about 38 different states, right? I'm licensed in all of those states. I have 38 unique license numbers, one for every state I'm licensed in, right? So the first trick we tell people, whether you're talking to us, you're talking to someone else, or by the way, just because someone in the neighborhood has a building doesn't mean they're legit. You need to be checking on them as well, Bob. But you can actually get whoever you're talking to, their particular writing number in that state. And you can call the local Department of Insurance and Commerce in that particular state. And with that license number alone, they can tell you all the information about that agent. Are they active? Are they in good standing? Do they have any outstanding complaints or other issues, et cetera, right? So one quick phone call to the Department of Insurance can tell you whether the person you're talking to is legit or not, right? But take that a step further, Bob. Okay, you're legit, but is what you're telling me legitimate, right? So just the same as we have individual license numbers, every company that we do business with, right, at SBI, we're a broker. We work with all those companies, right? Every one of my agents has a unique writing number to that company. You can take that writing number and call the insurance company and verify that I am appointed with that particular company, that I am in good standing, that I have taken my certifications and done everything required of me by the state to sell that particular product, right? And as we were just talking off air, I hope y'all won't mind me sharing this, but I think if any individual that was going to buy a senior insurance market product would take just these two steps, Bob, the impact that we could have on financial exploitation or elder abuse / fraud in our space, being the insurance space, would all but be eliminated.
It's big.
It's big, right?
$500 million in exploitation.
And I just want to mention this, and this thought came to me as Aaron and you were talking about calling into the agency with any questions. That service is free. right? That's worth mentioning. That service is free. But if you call the Department of Insurance, that service is free too.
Are they easy to deal with once you get them on the phone?
The Department of Insurance will pick up your phone call almost immediately.
Yeah, okay. Let me throw a question to you from Mark in Knoxville, guys. Seeing ads saying there's a new $3,000 Medicare benefit for seniors, but you have to sign up for it. Is that legitimate?
Nick's more qualified.
Nick is this is Nick's. Okay.
Yeah, so basically there are some Medicare policies that do have additional benefits. Phrasing it as Medicare is offering this additional benefit is incorrect. Medicare does not offer additional benefits. What I suspect is there's certain types of Medicare plans out there, like Medicare Advantage plans that are offering those additional benefits, and that's on a company-by-company, policy-by-policy basis.
But again, you can check these out before you sign up. And you know what? When you're talking about the services that you've been talking about, Nick, at some point it's going to involve some of your personal information.
Sure,
True?
absolutely. Yeah.
So, yeah, you absolutely want to take a few minutes and do a quick bit of research before you give up that information. Aaron, once financial exploitation has happened, however that may be, what recourse, if any, do people have? And how successful can this be?
One of the most important things we advise folks to do is report it. If they feel like they have been taken advantage of financially by a fraudster or by a scam artist or even by a family member, they really need to report that to the authorities. They can report that to Adult Protective Services, and there's a toll-free number. I may have provided it on the material I gave to you. It's 1-888-277-8366. That is the Adult Protective Services central office in Nashville, but they can also report it as a crime to their local law enforcement. And let me put in a little commercial here for the for KPD here in Knoxville and also the Sheriff's Department. They both in the last year or two have set up special units to investigate crimes specific to older adults. And I think it's phenomenal. And maybe down the road, if we have other episodes, we could have some of those folks join us, because they see it as a problem, something that's reported much more often than before, and they're seeing and being able to investigate and actually in some cases charge folks with criminal activity. I know the DA here, Sharm Allen, has also set up a special prosecution unit in Knox County, actually the first prosecution unit on elder abuse in the state of Tennessee. So folks are beginning to see the need to step a little more into this space.
You know, it's great they've done that. It's unfortunate that there's a need so strong that they had to do something like that. So report it. Chances to get some
recovery.
Yeah, some recovery. I got to think maybe a long shot, but hopefully not.
Banks and credit unions are generally pretty good to work with customers and depositors if, in fact, they've been defrauded. Now, if you hand someone your debit card and you give them your PIN number, and it happens a lot innocently for someone to go do a little grocery shopping for you, sometimes the banks and credit unions will not restore your funds if you've provided that debit card and PIN. But if it's a fraudulent activity under current law, most of that money can be restored by the bank and credit union.
Wow, okay, but you got to report it.
But we got to report it, and it has to be fraud and not something you've done to allow the money to be taken.
Okay.
And Aaron, I think another thing that we all need to be cognizant of is, we're all in this together, right? Whether it's you and the area agency, whether it's Senior Benefit Inc., or whether it's just members of the community, we have a duty to these members of our society to report wrongdoing, fraud, exploitation, or even the appearance, right? So I want to caution people, don't just report it hoping someone will be prosecuted. Don't just report it hoping they get their money back. Of course, we want that, but what we also want is these people out here doing these things to this market to go away, right? And, I'm a big believer in positive and negative reinforcement. If someone does something wrong and they don't get caught, they don't get in trouble, there is an increased likelihood that they will repeat that behavior, right?
Yeah.
It's all of our jobs to be on the lookout, to be asking questions, and to take action, right? That is the goal. Take action.
Well said. Be proactive.
Absolutely.
Let's cut it off and do away with the opportunities here. I know December 7th, real quickly, Nick, is fast approaching, and that's significant for folks in what way?
Yeah, so the phones at the office are humming these days, Bob.
Good.
But, Medicare annual enrollment period runs through December 7th, folks. It's that time of year where you can make all the changes to your Medicare without getting too deep. Before it's too late, give us a call. Number is 844-437-4250, 844-437-4250. Give us a call, and we'd love to answer your questions and help you out.
When is the 7th? Is a week from tomorrow, right?
Yes, sir. Crunch time.
Coming up quick.
Good gracious. Let me see. Hang on just a quick second here. Before we wrap it up today, let me get Anthony's call in here real quickly. And Anthony, good morning. Thanks for calling in. You're on here with Aaron and Nick. Hi.
Called in before. I'm a nurse, 100 years, I'll say, and I've worked in many different states as a nurse. And I normally work, ICU, ER, kind of things like that. But agencies sometimes, especially during the 80s and 90s when there was a big nursing shortage, they would ask would I work shifts in nursing homes. Now, this abuse has been going on in nursing homes beyond belief. And I ask myself why, and I come up with the answer on that one there, is that elderly people and children, they have no monetary value. And we could sit here today and we could blame COVID this and COVID that. That is the blame of everything. This is going on a very long time. And what I wanted to offer, though, is that your speaker before, I was listening to him, yes, and he's mentioning it, here in Tennessee. Are we really higher in this than any other state? I would have to absolutely say no on that.
Anthony?
It's just some get reported and some do not. But wait, let me say one more thing real quick. He mentioned reporting to police and all that. That is necessary. But if you are in a hospital or a nursing home and you're getting sub-therapeutic care, you need to report that to the State Board of Nursing.
Anthony, we appreciate your time, your thoughts, and your perspective on that. Where does Tennessee stand in the nation for this type of thing?
We're not higher than anyone else in the country, but we do have a high incidence of elder abuse in Tennessee. I'm glad the caller brought that out so that we could say we're not number one in this area in elder abuse in Tennessee. But on the nursing home, we have a service called the Nursing Home Ombudsman, and that's an advocate for the resident because often those voices are a little weaker, sometimes muted. So if a family member or the individual contacts our office using this toll-free number, we will have the Nursing Home Ombudsman look into the complaint and the situation. We often find out that abuse or neglect is occurring, and we will report that to public health and other entities to get them involved. So there are resources around the issue he mentioned.
Gang, I'm telling you, they got so many resources and information that's available for you. It's free. East Tennessee Area Agency on Aging and Disability. Take advantage of this, whether it's you directly or maybe your parents who are the senior citizens. They can help out, and that number is 866-836-6678. And Senior Benefit Incorporated. A week from tomorrow, you got a few days left to do those Medicare changes. Nick and his crew's ready to handle you. Yes, sir, Mr. Aaron.
One thing in closing, Bob, the Area Agency on Aging in East Tennessee is part of the East Tennessee Human Resource Agency, and I would be remiss if I didn't say that as kind of signing off. The East Tennessee Human Resource Agency is a regional nonprofit, been around about 45 years. The Area Agency on Aging is a part of that agency, and it's been a phenomenal place to work. I've spent a good number of years there. So,
Very
again,
good.
thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. And the website, by the way, ethra.org. Aaron, Nick, look forward to next time.
All right, man. Take care, Bob. Thank you.
Well.
Appreciate
Age
it.
Well, Tennessee. And we'll be back on Yarborough.